What's up, folks? We're back here for episode 3, season 5, Snowfall. This episode is titled Lions. We definitely got some things to talk about in tonight. Very all over the place episode. Man, anytime Scully's involved, you know it's gonna be some shit. But before we get into it, Uncle Lucas, how's it going today?
Man, listen, it's a day, but we here to get the biblical meaning of lions. As Sully has taken it to lions and lambs version of the New Testament here.
Yeah,
with some of the wildest scenes you will ever see. Look, let's get into it because it's Jesus Christ. He had them dudes lined up naked with like apostles' names at the bottom of it, and I said, "Oh, he's crazy."
Yeah,
he's like a different level all of a sudden now. Crazy at that.
Yeah. It goes down in Inglewood, but there is something we will talk about. And you know, we'll talk about obviously some of the events of the episode, but I think there's a lot of themes and as you said, there may be a lot of metaphors within this episode, but we'll talk about it. But let's start at what I feel is one of the biggest things, and that's just the rupture of Teddy holding his ground and how that trickles down all the way from the government all the way to the streets. And we're seeing everybody being uncomfortable now. Franklin, who we kind of seen kind of calm and composed last episode, and maybe it was more like we said, a reality check of like, all right, well, things are what they used to be, and that's what it's going to be. And then, you know, there's obviously probably a little bit of resistance as to like, well, maybe we got a little bit of wiggle room and something, but no, Teddy's like, this is what it is. It ain't me that's the problem, it's y'all. And we'll talk about that in a little bit. But obviously he goes back to the family. He's like, look, this is what it is. It's 10 a key, and that's it. And you know, Louie, who we really got some things to talk about with her. She does do, and again, this is why I said like it was kind of like we see this whole transformation of Franklin's episode, because when she was like, all right, cool, then all right, Jerome, I guess we got to kind of figure it out. We got to go to Inglewood and figure out on our end, you know. And although we didn't verbally hear that like they're not all operating together, we now know that while they are coming to these meetings, everybody's running their own unit, which that is one of the issues for Franklin. But the other issue is that Franklin hasn't truly dealt with his feelings about his dad, which also becomes the issue, because when Louie called about it, he dismissed it instantly. Then he goes back to Veronique and she brings it up as well. And then it's like she's the one that now makes Franklin go above and beyond into responses to certain things. Because after that, that's when he wanted to have the meeting with Alton. But yeah, let's so I can stop talking so much. How did you how did you like articulate that scene when you with the opening scene of the family and everything, when he came back and said like, look, Teddy said this is it.
It brought to light something you said last week in last week's episode, and that was everyone seemed so happy. They seemed happy because he bent to everybody. He basically went out and gave everybody everything they wanted, which if you are leading any form of drug organization, your job is not to give everybody everything they want. Worse yet, ain't no way in 4 hells you're going to get the price of the brick from me from the same price I pay for it. And because he did that, because they're family, it created this divide where they feel they can go to him and say, no, it needs to change. Instead of treating it the way he should, which is either we're going to be one big organization, or I have to charge y'all like I would charge anyone else. So that whole meeting at the beginning, after him coming back to them like, hey, Teddy's back and the price is the price, and their reaction to him saying that, it's because they're not accustomed to Franklin sticking it up and telling them this is the way we're going to have to do business. It's no wiggle room around it. Even Louie saying, well, maybe I can meet with him. If that was anyone else besides her, he probably would have tried to kill him.
Yeah. Yeah, we know that. We know that from the past.
Exactly.
Because Man Boy wanted to connect really, really bad.
My guy in the last episode just said the same thing about your CIA connect. So we know those personal ties are the reason he allows that to get by. But now he also understands, like, I'm dealing with someone who no longer cares. Like, the way he got over on Grady never could exist with Reed, and it definitely doesn't exist with Teddy. So now it's everyone having to make that adjustment to having this person who runs it like a true business in charge again, instead of running it like a personal playpen, which Grady was running it like.
Yeah. And I mean, that's what what's his name said. He was just like, yeah, Teddy came back and was just like, oh, so y'all out here running like Sesame Street reference, insert Sesame Street reference. And he knew that was a problem. And yeah, because everybody has a boss, and while y'all can, understand that everyone's making money, it's no buddies in this. You can't have that. It's a liability.
Especially again,
Bernie and Ert.
Oh,
I
just pay very close attention to not just this scene, but the following scene between Franklin and Teddy, and him letting them understand the way business was supposed to be run, and the way you decided to run business. Yeah. Basically, pinpoint, like, no, this is all your fault. Don't come to me. It would be the same thing as, I want to say, in the earlier seasons of Snowfall with Avi. When he had issues with Avi was always like, oh no, that sounds like your problem. That has absolutely nothing to do with me. This is just a come to full circle moment that now Teddy is telling him the exact same thing. Like, nah, this has to do with you. This has nothing to do with me. The price of the brick ain't the problem. It's how you're distributing it that becomes a problem. Especially when we find out later on in the episode, like, if they are getting this brick for $10,000, which, my God, if I could get a brick for $10,000, but the point that they're getting this brick for $10,000 and turning around and selling it to Scully for 11, like, that is ridiculous. That's cutting margins so close for them to do it that way. So they're trying to increase their profit by also decreasing what he pays for a brick because of what someone else sells it for. And they're like, again, from Teddy's perspective, it makes no sense. Yeah. Because you all shouldn't be getting the brick for 10 anyway. You should be getting it a lot higher than that. Unless you're still in the same organization.
All under the same organization. Yeah.
Exactly. Like it's a weird paradox that's going on between them. Of once you separate, are you still expected to be treated the same exact way? So that's the best way to put it.
Yeah, that conversation at the end of the episode told it all. I mean, yeah, there was an idea of like, oh, we're still family, but like, now this is business, and everybody wants to have their own hierarchy, and no one wants to answer anybody, and you expect to have the same consideration. Yeah, that's not going to work. And frankly, was fed up. I can't wait till we can talk about it, but we'll get there.
Hey, my guy, the Notorious B.I.G., the great philosopher, said it best. and I know this reference is dated as fuck right now, and everybody can get offended, but said it. Blood and money don't mix. Like two dicks with no bitch. Find yourself in serious shit. Like, it's a weird thing because you still want to be loyal to your family, but you have to understand there's still money to be made here. If you're not rolling with me, you can't get it for the same price I get it for.
It's interesting that Jerome gets that.
Yes,
he's just so loyal to his lady.
Exactly.
So loyal. He's so loyal. That's why he was kind of like, when he looked at her, then he was kind of like, yeah, that's it. You running things, and we'll get there. Let's go a little bit more. So after this point now, Jerome and Louie, they gotta make do with the circumstances, and that means they gotta go holler at Scully. But Scully got a little bit of an order to his organization. That's where we meet Mello rolling up in a Miami Vice Ferrari Testarossa. That's one of my favorite cars, and I was like, okay. Who pulling up? And at first we didn't know, but now we know he's under. He's rocking with Scully, who is still living his very angelic life in Inglewood.
hey.
But here's the thing, they want the deal to be 10 a key. It's not gonna happen. We can't do that. It was an honor. It was something that it was an honor, but they came back and said it wasn't gonna happen. Well, they can't do this. So just now, as he said, Scully's not gonna be happy about this, and y'all gotta figure it out. So, Louie and Jerome, they definitely got in a situation where they're like, what do? We can't go to Franklin. Franklin won't let me meet the Teddy.
Yep.
How do we figure this out? And well, this is why them two are who they are. They're smart, they're very intuitive, and they figured out a way. But at this point in the episode, I was definitely like, oh, I'm confused here now. They're screwed.
At this point in the episode, they decided to take a loss per brick sold to him because they made the number one mistake in drug dealing. And I know, again, it sounds horrible for me to say it that way. And no, I don't have any information as it pertains to drug dealing, but they made the worst mistake of making a promise before you got a set price. I can't go off of you telling me I can get this brick for this much until I'm starting to pay that much for it. The price don't change. And that's the mistake they made. And when you make that mistake to someone of Scully's ilk,
madman,
like hey, who's running his own Catholic crusade outside of his apartment, like you have no choice but to honor what you gave them. So when they're leaving that apartment, and Louie brings up, like, we're losing hundreds of dollars per brick to keep it at this price. That just shows you the dire straits that they got themselves into, because it all plays back to the same thing. When a family separated, what happened? I think that's going to be a overarching theme of this season that we're going to have to see more of, because right now we already saw in the first couple of episodes when my guy, white boy who just got killed. Jesus.
White boy Rick.
I don't know why I was so because I'm thinking of the BMF character from Eminem.
White boy Rick.
Yeah, exactly. But we see what happened with him when Franklin just gave him the brick for the price. He started using drugs every which way but loose. But he was operating his own section. So now we see Jerome and
Louie,
there we go. Jerome and Louie, as I just talked about, Jerome and Louie operate their own section and the issues that they're going through. So I think this is going to be an incurring theme of this season to just show you when they separated, this is what happened. And this was a hell of a thing to show in this episode to me.
Yeah. I mean, and there's a lot that we don't know as you're focusing on about the time between season 4 and season 5.
Yes.
As to how they made peace to where they're at. And that's slowly starting to become the revelation of this season. It's not so much of the events, but so much of like how that time where we did not get to see, where it seemed that they have got back on good terms, and that's a good thing, where it possibly was a lot of putting band-aids on bigger wounds. And we all know that that's not really a recipe for success.
Not at all.
So, sometimes you just got to fix things. Got to take in a shot. Can't just keep bandaging up things and think it's going to be good. But we'll see. But like I said, there's still more to other things in this episode that we definitely got to cover. Now, going back to Inglewood again with Scully. So Scully, we know, is super paranoid, super religious. When they come in, he knew something was up, and he said something seems off, something seems fishy, and he looks over at Mello, and he's like, "That's possum, right?" and whatnot. So this is why I like this episode, because I did not see where this was going, but we did know for a fact that this dude Mello, he was giving it to me before we actually really saw it. He's feeling himself, and it's always that person that thinks they're like the next one up, that they're entitled. And I think he got head over his heels, because I think at that moment of being in the room with Scully, I think he started to realize that like he's playing a dangerous game before he actually even made dangerous moves, because at this point now, no one really can trust Scully. It's never ever been a factor amongst him that being close to him is a good thing. But he, as we start to see the gears turn, starts to think that like he's the next man up. He's the big dog on it. And man, I think that, although I didn't read it, but I think that's what, when you have a woman in the room like Louie, she easily picked this up. She was like, oh, He thinks he's the big dog. He rolls up with his tea or his coffee, whatever it is, in this Ferrari, and then we come see Scully, and he's in the room with him and whatnot, and so on. And also he was also kind of like tail under his tucking his tail in, because he was kind of puffing his chest out when he was out on the streets. But he get in there, he's like, oh yeah, you bringing a lot of heat here, all right, come in.
He knew
stuff. Yeah,
hey. Hey, everybody can't be Kanye at all times. You understand when you need to play your position. And he understood at that moment, like, okay, I need to be calm because I just saw Sully cut another nigga ear off, because he blamed him for even telling him that they would match that price. Like that ain't somebody you're not gonna go in boisterous with him and start screaming. None of that. Because Sully's not going to take any of that. Yeah. So it made sense for him to come across that way, but it also shows the underlining possum attitude that he carries with him.
I guess we can just focus on this now. I mean, and since that, this is where we see where Black Diamond and Dallas, where they they earn their keeps. Now they say they are loyal to the highest bidder, and that's what Jerome was like. Well, Franklin must be paying them good, and I don't know why he sees a liability in them. And maybe it's because
they shot Louie,
and he still doesn't trust it.
Yeah.
But hey, man, there was a lot of, shall I say, peace made in this episode. So this was just one that kind of, was like a all right, I get it. Like we're going to let this stuff go. And again, we'll get to my biggest point in a moment. But what is your thoughts about then, shall I say, employing them to go put out the move on Mello to move forward with this? Like, did you kind of see this plan being formed this early into the episode where they knew they can flip this dude?
That they could flip Mello?
Or bait him is probably a better word.
I think so. I think because you understand the type of person you're doing business with here. And he was too eager in that number 2 position. Sometimes when you get that guy who's too eager as the number 2, you got to use that to your advantage. So they baited him into doing exactly what they needed him to do. And that was, we need you to think you can be number 1. And that's all it is. I need you to believe you could be number 1. It's, again, a nice big gold belt analogy.
This is a new one.
What's the difference between that and wrestling? When you have a crew of wrestlers together, Evolution, and you want to trick Randy Orton into thinking that he should be the top guy while Triple H is still there.
Yeah,
and you use it against them like that. It's literally the exact same setup here. They was like, oh no, we need to rise him exactly. We need to rise him up to make him think he's number 1. Yeah. Because the moment he thinks he's number 1, we can use that. Because at that point, him being Sully's number 2, you're the most trusted person from Sully.
Yeah.
So if we can show you that your number 2 is going to flip on you, but we'll help you out as long as we can get our prices to remain the same.
That was a really good, Randy Orton moment in history with Batista. Listen, I wasn't even gonna go that deep. I was just gonna say, like, these hood niggas out here get a little bit of an ego. They get a little bit of, get them some high-end clothing, get a little bit of money, start throwing it and whatnot, and they think they the man. So
you know what it is? Because I like to say hood niggas. Everybody can't be ghosts. Everybody can't come up and take Kanan's place. Everybody can't be ghosts. It does not naturally happen that way. And that's what happened to him here.
Yeah, these motherfuckers go in the club, they get a check, they don't know how to act, and then they in that joint, they get exposed by the stripper, and they think they in love, or they think they the man, and like she sold him dreams, and then that ego made him changed his whole posture in one day.
And he started throwing money like it was nothing. That nigga might as well put on the Frank Lucas fur coat right there in the strip club. But for me, it just shows the realism and the real aspects of that lifestyle. That you can actually go about and think like you're the man just based off of a woman's perspective.
Yeah.
That's all it took for him. It took for him to have someone else tell him, well, aren't you just a number 2?
Yeah.
Hit his ego immediately. because he wants to be more.
Yeah,
and that's all you got to do.
It's crazy, man. It's crazy. And like Louie and them, they played this straight off. But I mean, she is intelligent, and Jerome trusts his wife because I think he understands, and he's been in the position of being the man, so he understands it. But like, he's confident in where he's at, and he moves the way he needs to do. But like, he does give her the tools in order for her to call the shots, and he trusts her and gets completely backs her. Even in the situation at the end, we'll get to, he still he stayed in his role. He didn't overstep. He let her call her shots and say like, look, you go ahead, say what you want to say, you know. So, but I thought it was nuts how they just baited this dude, saying, man, we're gonna boost his ego and we're gonna make him flip this whole thing. And that's when he decided to say, look, Scully's coming after y'all. That's that. He's trying to move you out the way. They want the 12 key deal. And here's how it's going to play, because Scully is going to see a psychic so he can talk to Tiana on her birthday. And this is where it's at. Y'all get the job done.
You could tell how reckless he was becoming when Louie had said for 50. And he said, man, you should just ask for 100. Nigga, the deal wasn't even done yet. Why would you tell her that? Of course she's going to come back and say, okay, then yes, 100. Yeah. Yep. That's the way this deal's going. It just showed how eager he was to be number one. But then again, it's the same thing in any crew. When you are starting a crew, listen, people, not saying drug crew, any crew in general, your number two tends to be the one you need to watch out for the most. Because if that person has ambition, that person is going to attempt to remove you and take over. 48 Laws of Power, people. All you got to do is read it. That's it.
So let's talk about Franklin meeting Teddy now. And obviously this, appears to be a meeting about money, but it actually tends to be being a lot more. So what do you, and I'm not going to talk much here, but what do you think of Franklin and this whole meeting of Teddy? Like, what do you think it meant to Franklin? And the biggest question is, do we trust anything that Teddy's saying right now?
He was attempting to read Teddy to see if that trust and that relationship that he believed they once had still existed. And I think at this meeting, he learned that it didn't.
Okay.
Because I think he knows that Teddy killed Alton. He was just trying to wait for him to honestly tell him that.
Okay.
I think he understood what Teddy would say about the brick. I mean, he didn't understand that Teddy would break it down to the extent that he did, but he did understand that price wasn't going to move no matter what he asked. So this was a I need to read you session from Franklin. That's all it was for him. And for Teddy, it was, I need to gain your trust back. So we're getting a chess match. Someone who feels I need to get your trust back to use you, and the other person who's wondering if the trust that I believe was once there still exists.
Yeah.
And then that's why you get this amazing scene from Teddy telling him from the beginning, like, the price of the brick, this is your fault, because as we've already talked about it, what you're selling it for, why would you make yourself the middleman in your own organization?
Yeah.
It's a hell of a line to say. Because no one does that. You made yourself the middleman in your own organization. You messed up. That's why this brick price is an issue for you now, because of what you did. And then for him saying immediately, Franklin hit it towards Alton, and Teddy knew exactly why he was there. That spoke, I think, more volumes for Franklin than the conversation that happened afterwards.
So do you think he's still bothered by his dad?
Yes. Because in the end, when he tried to put on that tough face to Louie and say, well, whatever happened to Alton is his fault, Franklin was willing to forgive everything Alton did. In the end, that's still his father.
Yeah, I keep thinking that Veronique is just channeling like his mother's energy, where like she can call his bluff. And let's also talk about that really quickly, is that Veronique knows everything.
Yes.
He from the and for her knowing who Teddy is, and not just Teddy as the person that was of interest on the news, but like, no, this was the connect before. Now he's back. She's like, I thought he was. Wait, and what about with the thing with your dad? Like, she knows everything. Not just everything factual, but actually everything that he's also just been dealing with mentally with it, where he's like, well, what about your dad? And do you think it's an accident? What is she what is she theorizing here? I mean, it's still not to be confirmed what happened to him. And I think they're playing this out for the show. And like, why we hear Franklin say that like he's dead, but then Veronique said something about an accident. So are they saying like he had an accidental death?
Well, I would have assumed that Teddy would have set it up way more than him just shooting him.
Right. So let's talk about this because we're talking about the government now. We all know how this all plays out. So in theory, the big picture is that they went down to Cuba, and as he said, everybody of any intelligence is going to look for that guy. Yes. But Franklin absolutely is 1,000,000,000% right. That does not mean that they want him dead. He could be of high interest, especially any type of counterintelligence to the CIA. What? This guy done he done roughed a few trees and a lot of leaves fell. So
welcome to go ahead.
No, go ahead.
Welcome to Franklin's biggest issue. Why does everyone know that you buy your drugs from the CIA? It makes no sense here. Like, we really need to have that conversation. He shares way too much information. Why does everyone know this? Why does she know your entire? How? I know we're years separated. I'm assuming from season 4 to 5.
I forgot how long it is, but jump in the comments, folks. Let us know.
But clearly, it's long enough for you to spill your entire life to this woman, who I still think is an undercover agent. I'm just waiting for it to be revealed.
I'm gonna need folks to stop coming for her looks. That shit is just completely out of.
They're coming for her looks.
They are just like, I can't believe he would have such an adjective type of girl, and all that money, and that's who you got. They're coming for her.
First things first, she's a beautiful woman. Second, do any of you niggas not know what the 80s was? All they did was dress her up like she's in the 80s. Like, are you serious? What y'all wanted him with somebody light skinned? That's what it is. Oh, y'all?
I don't know.
Y'all? I bet she's a bunch of women who buy that bunch of women. I know this.
I'm seeing it from everybody.
Women hate
everybody.
Women.
Everybody was giving it to her, and I was just like, "Dad!" Like,
I ain't gonna say my other comment because I don't want us to get in trouble. But if there's no way,
I'll say that.
I don't get it. I don't get it. She's a beautiful woman to me.
I don't get it either. I'll say this though. I don't know if she is of any type of spy of some sort, but she is successful on the surface level, and she is contributing in a way that was about Franklin's end game in real estate. So it makes sense why he wants her. They're making money during the day. I mean, he closed the 10K deal on the phone. Let's not forget that. Like 10K was just like, yeah, I got it done. Not a problem. So and while that was, for his jet and fixing the window and whatnot, they looked at each other like, ha, you just fixing the jet window. Like how we look at our cars and fixing our windshield.
Some of you niggas can't afford to get your car window fixed that fast. It's probably the ones hating this woman and her looks.
Yeah,
because I'm so confused. I did not know that. Wow.
Yeah, they are. They definitely are. Don't go diving too deep in there, as it's really sickening. But like, yeah, we know Franklin got a lot of money, but she does too, and legit money. And like, also she brings something to the table. So like,
she's a lawyer.
But I will go ahead.
Like she's a professional woman who wants him to do better.
Yeah.
Even though, granted, I think it's all a setup right now, but she wants him to do better. That's the surface area of it. Is her wanting him to do better. She's literally the epitome of the perfect woman who wants to be in your corner to push you to greater things.
Or the thing that everybody say they want until they get in there. It's like, oh, that don't look the way it should look. I don't know. I don't want to focus on that. But yeah, I think that her story is too black and white right now. So it's like,
that's why I'm like, it got to be something.
It's got to be something. We'll see. We'll see. We'll definitely see. Peach's health. What is going on, my man?
AIDS.
Why?
80s.
But why?
Just because, like, normally when they shows, again, it's like a telltale. It's because cancer wasn't, while it was prevalent, it's not a big storyline normally for the 80s.
Listen, my man could get it was not mesothelioma. What's the asbestos? He could be getting it's 80s, but no, it's that's too sophisticated. He definitely
I'm thinking serious illness, and in the 80s, one of the scariest, most serious illnesses was HIV.
Yeah,
and I can
amongst
see them,
gay men.
And there you go.
Yep.
Yeah, like I think that could be a very interesting turn they could take, because one, we've seen him now sick for a couple of episodes, and it ain't just a little sick. Like those are damn near death calls that he's giving out here.
Yeah, some people thought he was like on high on their own supply. Is what some people were implying.
Not from like coughing like that. That's not because he would also be loopy and high, and he's not.
Yeah,
he's still himself. He's just extremely sick. And this episode, when Franklin said, "And I don't want to bring her home. I don't want Veronique to catch anything," that's the first thing that popped in my head is, I think they're going to go the HIV route, which in this point in the 80s, it's when it blew up and it became more than just a disease for homosexuals around this point in time. This had to be around the time that Easy got infected.
I can't remember the year.
Yeah, I know he passed away in the 90s, but I mean his initial possibly infection point. Like this is a big part of the 80s here, and when that disease went rampant. So it would only make sense that you would bring that up with a character.
Yeah. And
it could be from drug use. You never know. Maybe it was because a lot of people got it back in the day from sharing needles.
Yeah, right. We'll see. Every episode is a more severe cough, so we'll see what happens.
And I know y'all thinking it's fucked up that he coughed and I gave him HIV, but
they've been saying that. People been saying that in the comments from the last week. It's like, are we going to talk about it? And I was just like, you know what? I don't know what to make of it right now, but you know, let's bring it up since they had more context to the cough in this one. So so we'll see. Now another thing, because I almost forgot about this. So when So when Franklin went to meet Gustavo because Teddy couldn't do the drop.
Yeah.
And he was like, why this location? And it's not like a location that we haven't seen before in these type of deals, but this is the first time for Franklin to say like, oh, this is not how we do things. And he was completely like, it was different.
It was a cold location to meet at.
Yeah. And Gustavo didn't even know.
It was a setup that Franklin just sensed it. Like him and Teddy normally met at outside at the beach and all these other places. This was a very non-personal location to meet at.
Yeah. So he picked up on it early, and then he came back and had to go do some snooping around and figure out like, oh, he was testing me.
Yep.
Spying. But hey, I mean, it's chess moves, because you were definitely testing him not too long ago.
Hey, exactly. But that's what can make this season special, is that it's going to be them two playing these moves against each other this entire season to try to figure each other out. That don't mean they're going to turn on one another, but they're really trying to figure each other out here.
Yeah. So I guess we get to the scene where Mello comes in and figures out that
he's going to get the Wanda scene.
We definitely will talk about Wanda right after.
We gotta talk about my girl.
We already knew what time it was for her. But yeah, Mello was like, hey, scanners are quiet. Y'all got it done, because after Louie and Jerome went to the I keep want to say the medium, but the psychic, in order to
old school psychic,
old school psychic.
No, that is no psychic. That's a hoodoo. I want to say it's hoodoo.
Hoodoo, yeah.
Yeah, that's a hoodoo lady. Yeah, that is not a psychic. It is a completely different thing.
So that was their setup to get Scully, but after that, it appeared that did they off Scully? No, because of course they would have shown that. We knew that as the viewers. But Mello said, "Hey, the scanners were quiet," and he said, "Look, it's no kiddie games over here. We get it done." And the proof was it that they had the chain, and this guy instantly starts talking about, oh yeah, I'm about to be number one. I'm about the throne. My man is so happy right now, like ridiculous. But yeah, that's when Scully comes out with the boys. Put my man in the choke, snaps his neck after reciting Palm 60-12.
Hey, exactly.
No,
exactly. Like Like again, the ego that came out of him when he saw that chain was ridiculous.
Yeah.
He said, "Oh yeah. I'm gonna be number one now. You know, I guess it's gonna take a minute because I got to play the role." It's like, and the whole time you're not picking up that they're not responding to you.
Yeah, man. So,
or even go back to the scene when it seemed they were going to set up Scully. The giveaway of that scene was when Louie said, "This is not the way I wanted this to end up."
Yeah.
Like,
but
that tells you a lot.
That is what I'm about to talk about right now. There's a connection happening that we have not got to really dive into until this episode, and that's just the trauma that we knew Scully was dealing with after Tiana got killed, and we know that that and near-death experiences was traumatizing to Scully. And then we know that was also very traumatizing to Louie, to the point that she didn't even want to be around Franklin anymore, which that was part of the divide. And that's why we see in the previous episodes that her and Jerome are like living life, riding on horses, you know, still addicted to the game, but also trying to, like, you know, see the finer and more extravagant things of life. So like what we're seeing is that coping mechanisms to an extent. And like Scully is still doing his very irate things, but like he's super deep in his religion, and he feels like all this that he's doing, especially going to see the psychic and whatnot, are ways of that they're just coping with it, which are two extremes for sure. But we never thought that the two of them will meet in the middle to call things cool because of them both dealing with this.
It's that I think they did it best by showing you at the beginning of the episode on the prologue the hospital scene. Yeah, because that scene was highly important to all of them involved. I think it's hard to remember because it feels so long ago. The emotion that Scully had when he left that hospital. Yeah, because he had her dead to rights. Yeah, and he still did nothing. That builds a connection with someone, and I think that connection is why Louie doesn't want anything bad to happen to Scully. It's the reason she was willing to take a loss on the brick because of that. Like that, it's a hell of a relationship that they have now, and it's a relationship built around trauma, as you said. Yeah.
I think that, and why are you saying Scully? Because I'm like, you know, Sully's that person that flies that plane. Scully, because Scully, the cat.
You know what? They already got on me. They already got on me last year. You're gonna get on me this year because I didn't call him Scully this entire episode.
Scully out here putting planes on the on
the Hudson River.
On the Hudson, thank you. Yeah. Scully is in Inglewood chopping shit up. But yeah, I think that, you know, with all the death and near-death experiences, that they were able to find some truths in it and some solidarity, should I say, and that's where we see everything get resolved between the financial issues with the businesses, where they say, like, look, you keep and giving Jerome the chain was a huge thing. Now, two things with that. We did see with Mello with the chain basically saying that this means that he had the keys to the throne.
So you see, yep.
And I don't know if that's like a beacon to go back and say he's gone, because if he was gone, nobody would have this. I don't know is there something to be made of here? Does this mean that Jerome has some type of stake going forward with this?
No, I think it means that he had the ultimate trust to even give up that to them.
Okay.
That's what that means. That was basically Screwface's head, if anyone's seen Mark for Death. That was Screwface's head when Steve Seagal went back to lift it to the crew to let him know, like, he's gone. That's what that chain would have meant to Mello, because they know it wasn't ever leaving Scully's neck. Yeah. Ever. So the point that they had it and presented it to him, that was proof enough that he had to be dead.
Yeah. And so for Jerome, this like gives him a pass.
Yes. Ultimate.
You know, yeah. That's okay. So that's interesting. And I mean, like, when you think about, like, do you come back together under one unit, or do you say, like, oh, they're actually making leeway on their own thing now? Like they got a working relationship with Inglewood where the finances work out now.
It is a part that we skipped over that is hurting Louie and Jerome, and when they went their separate ways, and that's that cop.
Yes, I forgot about the cop. About the cop.
Like that plays dividends because that is their cop for when they went a separate way from the family business, and we see the issue she's having from the cop saying, "Who's this person you're serving me up?" Because you're wondering who would. I thought it could have been
meat.
Yeah, I thought it could have been Scully. I thought maybe that's how they were going to attempt to get rid of him. But now that we know that's not the case, you still got to serve up someone to him.
Yeah, gonna have to start doing process of elimination in a minute. But hey, that's another arc of the season that we're going to have to find out. And like I said, Scully said, "Yeah, keep this juju."
Hey, he 100% right. That money got all types of bad juju on it. I want no parts of it.
Yep. So Wanda comes in. I mean, she had a hood verbal resume. She said, "Oh, I could run, I could build. I need a job. I'm hurt out here." And we know Franklin, in true Franklin fashion, saw a spot for her, said yes, but we don't know how that plays out. But that's not the part. That's not the important part, because the important part is what I said last week about, well, you do have this other person. What's his name? I can remember his name early. Curly hair.
Leon?
Thank you, Leon. I don't know why I always forget his name. Leon, we know that his soft spot is for Wanda. And we know that if Franklin is doing something to help Wanda, because obviously he doesn't want her involved in drugs, but if he can get her, I don't know, maybe a real job at the employment that they're working at right there.
I think it was to be the person who collects the funds and stuff from the and this is legal, collects rent from people. Yeah, be a handyman.
Yep. So listen, you help her get money, which obviously makes Leon happy. But then now you have Leon, who's sort of on the edge of everything. Of course, he had some valuable input earlier in the episode, but he's still like on the outside, kind of like, well, I'm here to these meetings because I'm a loyal member of this crew. He has a membership that's soon to expire, shall I say?
Exactly.
So he's just like, oh yeah, I'll just show up and tell them. But I think this helps him buy back in, because now he helped him with what his biggest liability was, which was Wanda, his soft spot. So Wanda got money, she's good, she's not gonna be around the drugs. So Leon, you back in, I'm helping your girl, I need you. And that's where I think we're going to kind of see beyond that. And I think that's another interesting thing is, well, where's Leon's stance in this ultimately? Because they're not all under one thing. So is he his own? Is he kind of like a freelancer?
I think that could be the next episode, is to show how Leon, because so far, amazingly, in the first episode we got Franklin, the second episode we got White Boy Rick, the third episode we get Louie and Jerome. I think the next episode is going to have to be Leon, and showing how he operated once they all separated.
Yeah,
again, it's important to pull out from the first episode when we saw him with the crew. Remember, that was a crew he was beefing with in season 4 at one point in time. But now they're all under him. So you got to see, how did that happen?
Yeah, I mean, he had some help from the OGs to kind of get everything back in order. But like, yeah, what's the deal out there? I think you're right. It could be next episode, so we'll see. Last thing we see on this episode, then we roll out, is that Louie, she made it very, I think she made it very clear, at least, or maybe it's just clear to me, she's not trying to answer to nobody. She's trying to go right to the top. But as he said, everybody answers to somebody. And that's just the fact of it. So whether you think that, like, because you're on your own, that means that you can call your own shots, it's not how it works. Because you go to him, he answers to somebody. So you might as well just come back in. So
welcome to the problem of not understanding the way organization should be run.
And she's gonna learn.
Because you want the brick at that price. It would have been better to take the brick at a higher price and say, I want no input from you.
Yeah.
Give it to me on consignment. I can move it on consignment because I have people that can buy it from me. You're going to have to raise the price of the brick to other folks. It's cool. As long as it's not 17.5. That's a Young Jeezy reference. As long as it's not 17.5 in the 80s, you're perfectly fine. Moving the brick. But again, it's because you're getting it at the family rate that all of this, like, you have someone above you no matter what.
Yeah.
Because if you got it on consignment, there is no one above you.
Yeah, that friends and family discount is definitely up out of there. Coming soon.
Exactly.
Courtesy of the new or returning general manager of the area.
Exactly. that damn buddy pass came with strings they did not expect.
Thought you was just gonna get on the flight right to Miami. Exactly. But little did you know that standby clause is very much in effect.
Little did you know you had a 5-hour layover in North Carolina.
Listen, folks, let us know your thoughts about episode 3 of Snowfall. It was a lot going on. I'm sure we probably missed something that you all wanted to discuss, so definitely jump in the comments and get your theories, your questions, your thoughts, all that down there. We'll be sure to get them answered. But yeah, we'll be back next week, and you know what it is. Each and every conclusion of every episode, your recap right here. We'll see you then. Thank you for tuning in, folks.